Yo, 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 what's up, my AP Gov squad? It's Mr. H. We're back at it with Locked On AP Gov, the Locked On Network. Let's get it intro. Here we go. Get Locked On Gov, AP Gov. Let's get it, yeah. Lock in this stuff, it's so important. Stay dangerous. Let's dominate that exam in May. Oh, yeah. All right. Enough cringe. Let's get it. All right. Okay, so have you ever heard of that one group project, right? Where the idea sounded simple. Just make a PowerPoint, right? A simple PowerPoint, a simple Canva, or whatever it is you're doing, right? But then it got stuck in edits for 3 whole weeks, 3 long weeks. 2 people ghosted the assignment, and someone tried to sneak their pet lizard into the slideshow, or maybe a wolf, because it's so very Sigma, right? That's what happens when you drop a bill into Congress, guys. It sounds simple. Write an idea, vote on it, done. But nah, government's messy. And Congress, our bicameral legislature, is basically a haunted house for bills. Most bills die in committees, and committee day is tomorrow. So y'all lock in what that is during this episode. We're going to dive into it. And it sounds super simple, right? Write an idea, vote on it, done. Guys, most of them don't even make it out alive. Think zombie bills. Today we're going to inside the maze. Committees, rules, debates, pork barrel deals, log rolling, and why? Just to see why policymaking is messy by design, on purpose. Okay, so let's get the learning objective in first. Learning objective for this 2.2 topic of our Unit 2, Mini Unit 1, Legislative Branch. Yes, a big mouthful here, right? But we're in the Unit 2 of the AP curriculum, the interactions among the branches of government. And I've broken this into mini units, 4 mini units to be precise, to make it achievable and a little bit more, diced into smaller bite-sized pieces. All right, so learning objective for today. Explain how the structure, powers, and functions of both the House and Senate of Congress, the bicameral legislature, affect policy-making process. So we're going in full steam ahead on how a bill becomes a law. And we're doing that this week in our simulations. So let's get it. Story 1, designed for drama. Let's start with the big picture here. The House, the lower, the hot T, right, the lower of the two, and the Senate, the upper, the saucer, that's the cooler, the more professional of the two, right? We're built different. And I mean literally built different. The House was designed to be quick, reactive to the people's voices, responsive, and close to the people. That's why you have districts within states. That way each representative has a smaller, more homogenous district, constituents, people that vote, right? People they listen to, that they respond to is a much smaller group. That way they can listen more effectively. And then the Senate was designed to be slower, more cautious, more deliberate, stabilizing in a chaotic system like the House, right? Stabilizing. And the minority political party in the Senate has some safeguards, a way to slow bills down and to ultimately sometimes kill the bill, and to combat against the majority party. And so it's got some unique powers, like the filibuster. The filibuster is definitely a minority political party superpower in the Senate to allow them to stall or slow down a bill-making process. That way they can get some amendments added or some compromises and negotiations made along the way. All right, so that difference directly shapes the policy-making process, the law-making process. The House throws thousands of bills into... You need anything, Coach? Bills into the hopper every session, right? And remember, I mentioned this. Congress goes in 2-year intervals, 2-year sessions, and then they change the number, right? So we should be like 118, 119 right now, and in 2 years, we'll have the House of Reps come up for re-election. Remember, the House of Reps is every 2 years, they go, all of them, 435 go up for re-election. And so every 2 years, we start a new congressional session, a new number. And the bill numbers start over as well. So within a session, we might get 10,000 to 12,000 bills. The majority will die in committee, which we'll see tomorrow, and only about 300 to 400 will get passed and signed into law. Okay, so these differences directly shape the policymaking process. The House throws thousands of bills into the hopper every session. The Senate is where the bills either get a reality check or die a slow death by yapping, by filibustering, by the one yapper to rule them all. Lord of the Rings reference. It's like TikTok versus YouTube again. House is a stream of constant short clips. Senate, long form content with fewer uploads. So, all right, let's get into committees, the real bosses. And every single representative or senator will have some sort of committee that they're a part of. And their committee appointments are usually based off what their expertise are. So our representative, Mike Ezel, and remind me to show y'all who this guy is tomorrow on Instagram. Mike Ezel is a former sheriff, so his committees deal mostly with law enforcement or safety, justice and safety, first responders, right? And it just makes sense because that's what he's good at. Okay, so here's the thing. Most bills never see the main stage. They get sent to committees. Committees are like the editing room of Congress. They hold hearings. There's committee chairs selected by the Speaker of the House or based off majority or seniority in the Senate, right? They hold hearings, debate, and mark up bills with revisions or additions, amendments. And who runs those committees? Well, I'm glad you asked. The majority party. And so having the majority gives you extra benefits. If your squad controls the chamber, and right now the Republican Party, the GOP, runs the Senate and the House. And so they're able to command the leadership of committees to pick them. So if your squad controls both chambers, your people get the gavel, the theoretical gavel, or quite literal gavel too. This is why the two-party system, because we have Democrat and Republican parties. Those are our two parties that dominate. However, there are minority parties, smaller parties, third parties, but we don't really see them much winning elections. And this is why the two-party system isn't just about drama on TV. It literally decides what gets heard, who testifies, which bills get buried, and which bills see the light of day. All right, moving on. House rules and chaos controls. So now let's zoom in real quick. Zoom in to the House of Representatives. 435 members, 2-year terms. Every 24 months, they go up for re-election, and their seat is in jeopardy, right? Responsive, reactive, energy, 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 chaos, chaos, chaos. How do we fix it? Well, we have a House Rules Committee. And who is helping create these rules and run these rules in the House of Representatives? Their leader, the Speaker of the House. So how is the Speaker of the House the person who's third in line to the presidency? It goes President, Vice President, Speaker of the House. That's the line of succession. They are elected by the majority political party. And so right now, the Republicans control the House of Representatives. They have more reps than Democrats do. And so they elected Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is a Republican from Louisiana, not too far from here. And they preside over everything. If the House was a classroom, the Speaker is the teacher who decides who talks and when. All revenue bills, money bills, tax bills start in the House of Representatives. That is an explicit power given to the House of Representatives in the Constitution. So why? Why is that? Because it's the closest to the people. And nobody likes surprise taxes. Nobody likes surprise taxes. And so they wanted those tax bills to be made in the most representative, well, not only branch, but house of that branch Congress there is. That's the House of Representatives. So debate rules. That's where the House Rules Committee steps in, right? And the Senate doesn't have one of these. It's just the House of Representatives Rules Committee. And they come in and they set the terms, how long debates will last, time limits, what amendments can be considered. And without them, guys, it's a total cafeteria, free-for-all, battle royale, brawl, right? And so they also, here's another rule of the House, they can also form a committee of the whole. And that's basically a House hack to speed up debate with fewer members present. So, all right, so let's just clear this one up real quick because it sounds super fancy, because it sounds way fancier than it is. The committee of the whole is not some secret club. It's just the entire House pretending to be one big committee instead of the full chamber. One big committee instead of the full chamber, right? So why speed? Normally the House has strict debate rules and needs a majority, 218 representatives, to do business. That is quorum, not decorum. Decorum is going to be respect, right? Have a professional air about you. Quorum means you have the minimum number necessary, quorum, which is 218, to do business. That can slow things down, right? So, but if they flip into a committee of the whole mode, they can debate with fewer members present, only 100 needed, move through bills faster because debate rules are looser. And they can also mark up and amend bills more easily before they bounce back to the full House for votes. Right? So think of it like switching from a formal class presentation to a group work session. In presentation mode, everyone has to be seated, quiet, and polished. In group mode, the vibe is looser. You can talk through ideas, scribble notes, and move faster. So when the House forms a committee of the whole, they're basically saying, let's get out of presentation mode, roll into this group mode, right? This loose vibe mode. Get the chairs in a circle. Knock this out quicker together, and let's spitball and figure this out collectively together in this little circle here as a whole. And once they're done, the bill goes back to the full House for a formal vote. And here's a spicy move, right? There's a discharge petition. And we need to know discharge petition because any individual representative can try to pull a bill out of a committee, a reluctant committee. Say this committee doesn't want to send it and eject it to the floor for debate. They just can't figure it out and they don't want to send it out, right? So a discharge petition discharges it, ejects it out of that committee who has it closed behind doors, and forces it to the floor. Sounds dramatic, right? But it's rare. It doesn't happen often. It's kind of like seeing snow in Gulfport, rare, which we had this year. So that was kind of unique. But yeah, but it is a very rare moment where a discharge petition will take a bill out of committee they're reluctant. They haven't actually passed it on. And now, let's not forget about who the whips are. Now, the whips, they are in charge of party discipline, right? Think of them as the group chat moderators. Their whole job is making sure everyone in their party actually shows up and votes the way the squad agree. Right? So without whips, Congress would be like trying to organize a beach bonfire with 435 teenagers. Total chaos, guys. No way that would work out. You got to have the whips checking to see who's voting yay or nay. Making sure your political party toes the line and votes the way your party wants them to. Your party leadership demands them to. And also making sure your party members show up to vote. They show up. All right, so that's kind of a big deal, all right? And whips' jobs are important. Think party disciplinarians. They are whipping votes to get the bill passed that they want or to not pass a bill. Okay, moving on. So we've gone through the House. Think House, we got strict rules because of the House Rules Committee. You have something called the Committee of the Whole that will help get things faster, done faster, with less rules, fewer members, right? You have the discharge petition, you have whips, and you have the Speaker of the House. So don't forget about the leadership there. Okay, moving on. Senate rules. slow and savage, right? Meanwhile, the Senate, the vibe is slower and sneakier, all right? And they have a really important check and balance power on the president. They can approve treaties, approve appointments of judges and cabinet members. They also give advice and consent to the president. So they have a lot of power to communicate with the president on a lot of different things. They are the upper house. Think seniors, not freshmen. And most representatives want to graduate to become a senator. So here's the vibe in the Senate. Unlike the House, where the speaker is basically the classroom teacher with a megaphone, right? Sit down, don't talk. The Senate leadership is more chill and super powerful still. So you have the vice president. Now, they're not the most powerful person in the Senate, but their job is important. Technically, they're known as the president of the Senate. And right now, J.D. Vance is the vice president. And they are the president of the Senate. But honestly, they're kind of like a substitute teacher who shows up once in a while. They can't debate. They don't run daily business. But they do get one big superpower: breaking the tie when there's a tie. There's 100 senators, so it could be 50-50. Next up is the president pro tempore, or the president pro temp. The president pro temp is Chuck Grassley right now. Chuck Grassley is from, if I'm not mistaken, Iowa, and he is 91 years old, been in Congress since, I believe, the 80s or 90s. He is a senior, if you've ever seen a senior, and he's respected, right? But what's his job? Okay, so this is the senior most member of the majority party. He's Republican, and he's been in the longest. It's mostly a ceremonial title, kind of like being class president, but without any real homework. They preside in the VP's place, J.D. Vance's place, when he's not there, and they break ties. Now, the most powerful senator, the Senate Majority Leader, here's the real boss. This person sets the schedule, the calendar for bills, decides when bills get floor time, and basically runs the Senate's playlist. If the Majority Leader doesn't want your bill on the agenda, it's like your song never making it to the party aux cord. All right, and then we got the minority leader here, right? So this is the opposition party, and at the moment it is the Democratic Party. And they are able to select a minority leader, the opposition captain. They can't run the playlist, but they can stall and negotiate and rally their squad to make it difficult for the Republicans at this time, the majority, to get things done. This is the person who makes filibustering sting, right? And then also in the Senate, you have the whips. Yep, the Senate has them too. Same group chat moderator role as the House, keeping party members in line, counting their votes to make sure they're voting the way the party wants them to, and making sure no one goes rogue on a big bill. And they're voting the way their political party wants them to. Party disciplinarians. All right, so if the House is like a high school classroom with strict teacher, the Speaker of the House, right, Mike Johnson from Louisiana, Republican. The Senate is more like a college seminar. The majority leader is the professor who decides the syllabus, and every student's a senator. Has way more room to jump in and discuss things, slow things down if they need to, and even derail the whole class with an endless list of questions about random stuff that the professor ends up answering. So in the Senate, bills usually make it to the floor through something called unanimous consent. Unanimous meaning all of them must consent. Basically, it's like the squad saying, we all good if we just move this thing forward? No objections? Cool, let's do it. If nobody speaks up, boom, the bill's on the floor for debate. And if just one senator says, nah, I object, fam, the bill stalls, and it's called a hold. All right, so that's called a hold. All right, and they can hold it up. Just one senator can hold up unanimous consent. You got to have all senators agree. So think of it like this: you're in a group chat trying to pick where to eat, and we've talked about, at least in one of, I believe, second block we did, the paradox of choice. Right? Sometimes there's too many choices, so you can't make a choice. How about that? Right? And so you're in a group chat trying to pick where to eat, and if everyone's like Taco Bell works, you're rolling. But if one person One friend types hard pass, the whole plan freezes, right? So that's like unanimous consent. Or imagine you're watching Netflix with your friends and about to hit play, and one person yells, "Wait, I'm not ready." Everyone has to stop, even if 99% are ready. That's a Senate hold. And here's the kicker. A hold doesn't even have to be public. You can do secret holds. Sneaky. Which is basically ghosting a bill. Everyone knows someone's blocking it or something's blocking it. But nobody's sure who is blocking it. Man. Secret sneakiness. Gosh, this sounds fun, right? So why use it? Senators throw holds when they want one of three things. More time to review a bill. They haven't looked at it fully. Time to negotiate changes. This is basically political blackmail. Or sometimes just to stall because they're not vibing with the exact timing on when this bill will be discussed on the floor. So yeah, in the House, the majority rules the schedule. The Senate, one stubborn senator, one stubborn yapper, one stubborn holder, right, can slam the brakes on the entire chamber. That's why people call the Senate the place where bills go to die slowly. Once on the floor, senators can filibuster, right? So talk endlessly to delay or kill a bill. Think of it like that one kid in class who keeps raising their hand to stall a quiz, hoping that maybe it won't happen, right? But it always does. I call this the one yapper to rule them all, because literally one yap can slow the whole Senate down. It's like the Lord of the Rings, but instead of destroying Middle Earth, they're destroying the bill's chance of seeing daylight. The only way to end it, a cloture motion. Cloture motion. It needs 60 out of 100 senators to vote to shut down the filibuster. That's why the minority party at this moment, the Democrats in the Senate, still have so much power. They have a lot of safeguards against the majority power, the Republicans. Oh, and here's some insider baseball knowledge, right? The calendar assignments, it's basically the playlist order, right? The leadership decides when or if your bill even gets scheduled for debate. You can write the hottest track ever, right? But if it never makes the playlist, nobody hears it. Okay, now moving on. Conference committees fixing the draft. Here's a fun one, right? Let's say, and we'll do this when I come back from my trip, guys, the conference committee. Here's a fun one. Let's say a bill somehow passes both chambers, but with different wording. Now what, right? We can only send one identical bill to the President of the United States, to Madam or Mr. President, right? You cannot send two different bills, just one for signing or vetoing. All right, so now what do? We call a conference committee, another committee within committees. How about that? Half House, half Senate to reconcile the differences and to take two bills and make one identical bill. And it's like when your group has two versions of the slideshow, one with memes, one without. You lock yourselves in the library and hammer out a compromise before presenting it. And speaking of compromise, ever heard of rider amendments? A rider amendment is a secret addition to a bill. Senators love to attach unrelated stuff to a bill just to sneak it through, guys, like adding a TikTok ban into a highway funding bill. Sometimes the extras are more controversial than the actual bill. Riders are just additions, usually added in the dead of night, secretly, to get it passed through without people realizing. Sneaky. All right, so the big money game, budgets. Let's get into it. Got to know these for the AP exam. Congress doesn't just pass bills or laws. They write the checks. Power of the purse. They got the moolah, as I believe Lil Wayne would say. Two types of spending. You got mandatory spending, required by law. Think Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. You cannot skip those. Those are non-negotiable payments we have to have every year in our federal budget. If it's not there, big no-no. And then you have discretionary spending. Debated every year. This is the money that can be spread out over everything else outside of our, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. and our interest on our debt. This is stuff like defense for the military, which we spend close to $1 trillion a year, education, and roads. Right? Those are the big three discretionary spending items. Problem here, mandatory spending keeps growing, guys. It is massive. It's over $4 trillion, $4 trillion with the T. That leaves less room for discretionary spending. And so if it was a pie chart, right, back in the day, you had a very small amount of mandatory spending, most of it discretionary. Today, very little discretionary, most of it carved out for mandatory, such as Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And so this leaves less room for discretionary spending unless Congress raises our taxes, which has to happen in the House of Representatives, or accepts a bigger deficit. A deficit ceiling can be increased, where we can then take out more debt, on which is what we did this year. We increased our debt ceiling to, $6 trillion, I believe, after this big, beautiful bill was passed this summer. It's like your paycheck. Rent, groceries, those are mandatory. Rent and groceries, mandatory. Eat up most of it, right? Your monthly paycheck. If those go up, you've got less to spend on Starbucks, on concert tickets to Taylor Swift or to SZA or Bad Bunny or whoever you listen to. That concert stuff, that's discretionary, right? That's not a non-negotiable required by law. That's just your fun spending, so to speak. So it's a constant struggle here of trying to create a budget, right? And our congressmen and women are not great at balancing it, it seems. They love to spend, and they have big hearts, and they want to spend and do all these things, but we got to wrangle in some of that excessive spending because we currently have, $28 trillion in debt. We got to find a way to lower the debts, or else we'll be in big trouble. Okay, so next, log rolling and pork barrel. We got to know these two, right? Pork barrel and log rolling, the sauce, right? Bringing home the bacon. Here's where things get real messy, right? So think pork barrel legislation. Yes, pork barrel legislation as bringing home the bacon. When representatives sneak in funding, money, for local projects into a big bill. Like this summer's big, beautiful bill, there was pork barrel spending. Like sliding in money for a new highway in your district while everyone else is focused on defense spending, right? And so there's a great example of pork barrel legislation in Alaska. There was a bridge to nowhere, which would have cost hundreds of millions of dollars. That would have helped a very small number of people. It would have helped that representative getting reelected, though. And eventually this bill was shut down, or this funding for this bill was shut down in, I believe, 2017-ish, 2018. And they had only built the road to nowhere, which was, $20 million, I believe they spent before shutting it down. So there's a road in Alaska that goes absolutely nowhere. But at least they didn't build this bridge. That would have cost us way too much. Pork barrel spending is something that I think we can try and go away from, because it does lead to massive excess spending in our federal budget. And log rolling. Think if you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Trading votes. I'll back your shrimp boat funding if you back my highway project. It's really just trading votes in Congress. You roll my log, I'll roll yours. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. This isn't just corruption, it's survival. If you're a Mississippi rep, you better bring home wins for your district, or you're out. Every 24 months, you go up for a re-election. If you don't bring home the bacon, we vote you out. So reality check, guys. Ever wonder how bridges get built in random towns nobody's heard of? Well, yep, that's pork barrel. So outro here, guys. I appreciate y'all listening in, tuning in. I try to have a little more energy today. Yesterday I was a little tired, but we locked it in. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you. So here's the deal. The way Congress is structured. House is meant for speed. Senate to slow things down. Think hot tea cup, cooling saucer. Committees, rules, budgets, pork, and log rolling. It's all intentional. Designed on purpose. The founders wanted a system where passing a law or laws were where it was really hard. Okay, so a system where passing laws was hard, not easy. They felt like if it was harder, only the best most important bills would get passed through. Bills have to survive a haunted house of committees, which you will do tomorrow with your bills. Rules and debates and deals are made. Most die. Some come out alive. Some come out like zombie bills been altered and messed with, like a Frankenstein bill, right? It's messy, but that mess, that's policy making and democracy. All right, fam. That's episode 2, Congress and the Structures, Functions, and Powers. Next up, when I come back, episode 3, Congressional Behavior. That's where we get into polarization between the parties, partisanship, and why Congress acts the way they do sometimes, like a group chat after a breakup. So until next time, guys, stay bold, stay curious, stay locked on AP Gov. Mr. H out. Peace. Have a great night.